Please excuse my clumsy delivery. The first movie is Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. So Glass Onion is a immediate follow-up to Knives Out, set in the same universe, starring one of the same characters and a completely different ensemble of individuals. It is a modern whodunit. If you didn't see Knives Out, it is a simple story of a detective, Benoit Blanc, who is hired to solve the untimely murder of a mystery author and the family that was at the party when it happened. Glass Onion is slightly different spin. Benoit Blanc is hired once again to go travel with a ensemble of disruptors, modern influencers, people who have widely affected society by the things they say and do on the internet, in politics, on television, fashion magazines. And this group of characters travels out to a remote, mysterious island owned by an eccentric billionaire, Miles, I don't remember his last name, played by the wonderful Edward Norton. Braun. Once they arrive on the island, they discover that Miles Braun, Edward Norton, has hired them, has invited them to be a part of a murder mystery party where he will be murdered and they will all have to solve it. And of course, Benoit Blanc is involved in that as the world's greatest detective, and he is invited to look deeper and find out what's really going on in Glass Onion. The movie has a starring cast: Daniel Craig, Edward Norton, Kate Hudson, Dave Bautista, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., Jessica Henwick. These are just the main characters, by the way. Director Rian Johnson pulls in a wonderful cast of additional... What's the word I'm looking for here? Cameos? Yeah. It's a phenomenally fun time at the movies, and I can't wait for you all to see it on Netflix if you haven't yet. The movie is Glass Onion. We're not going to get into spoilers. Andy, what'd you think?
Man, this was a blast. This was a really fun time at the movies. This is why we go to the movies. This is similar to the first one in that we get this big mystery within mystery, very complicated whodunit. But this is like turning everything up to 11 in a lot of ways. You can tell that they've got the big Netflix budget. It's bigger, it's better. It takes place in Greece on this private island. They're filming on location. There's yachts, there's boats. Big cast. A lot of special effects. It's way bigger than the first film, but it still keeps its core, kind of what made Knives Out special. It has really interesting personalities, lots of shifting alliances, complicated personalities. Everyone's a red herring. There's no way for you to guess what's going on. And like I said, there's mysteries within mysteries within mysteries, and it's all a really great time at the movies.
Yes, I feel really pleased to be able to say on this show, Rian Johnson has done it again. He had big shoes to fill with his own shoes. With Knives Out being as good as it was, he wrote and directed it. He wrote and directed this feature, and after Knives Out came out, Netflix paid him and his co-producer $500 million for the rights to their next two Knives Out movies. This is the first of those. He's not started writing 3 yet. He said he's still kind of working on it and gestating, and wanted to see how this was received. And while it's not fully out yet, it's being received very well. Glass Onion is, just like Andy said, a multi-layered, multifaceted mystery. How appropriate for its title, right? Glass Onion, as it were. It is good stuff. It's good stuff, man. I think it's probably just as good as Knives Out. I've seen some people say it's better. I've seen some people say it's worse. And it does a really good job of breaking away from the format of Knives Out, but still having like the perfect spirit of what Knives Out was, especially with Benoit Blanc at the center, returning Daniel Craig. It reminded me of like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, in that like it's very different from Raiders, but like it's totally an Indiana Jones movie. And then when they slide into Last Crusade, you get a return to a Raiders format, and it feels really fresh and good. That's what this feels like. Like it is totally Knives Out, and it's good stuff, man. I really enjoyed it. Our whole cast is great. Everybody's good. And the thing that works really well here is it's a smaller ensemble cast than Knives Out featured. Knives Out featured a bigger family, couples, a couple siblings in there, a couple kiddos. This is much smaller. There's less characters that you're dealing with in your main mystery. But that gives everybody more time to shine, which is perfect because everybody's really well cast and everybody's a lot of fun. Like I enjoyed everybody in this movie.
Yeah, that reminds me of a line from the first movie when he says that not the what the Nazi child said.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's cast is a good place to start. It's a great place to start. We have Edward Norton playing the eccentric billionaire, which is very much modeled off Elon Musk, very blatantly. We have Janelle Monáe who plays all these characters are kind of connected in youth and are still connected in kind of adulthood as well. Catherine Hahn plays this governor, senator, political figure. Leslie Odom Jr. is a scientist who works for Miles. Kate Hudson is kind of an influencer person. Again, connected. Dave Bautista is a great stand-in for Joe Rogan, and that kind. He's
like
like
Andrew
a
Tate.
stream.
Yeah,
he's like a Twitch streamer, and like he always has like a gun holster in his Speedo for his pistol, and his girlfriend Whiskey, played by Madeline Klein. Jessica Henwick is she's assistant to Birdie, trying to keep her off Twitter, trying to keep her from getting herself canceled. And then a slew of cameos, which I'm not going to spoil here, but that's kind of our main class. And it's kind of a who's who of people who are very successful, but they are largely dependent on Edward Norton's Miles Braun for their success. And because of that, he kind of has leverage over all of them and kind of has all of them under his thumb in a certain way. Because he might be this wealthy, super rich man, but he's, like he has PR disasters and some other things that he needs some of their help on. And of course, we have the great Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, who's inadvertently ends up on the on the island to take place in the this great murder mystery for the weekend.
Craig is so delightful in this movie as Blanc. Like he's really having a good time on screen, and like I don't know how he manages to get that southern drawl down so good, but like it totally works. Like the lights come up and I'm watching it with Christine, who has not seen any recent Bond movies, and she's like, "Man, Craig is so good." And it's a completely different character, like and role and performance, but still this like leading charismatic individual in an entirely different way. Like really fantastic work. Another thing I really liked about this movie that really helps it set apart from Knives Out is its setting. Knives Out is distinctly a fall movie. People were saying it was great for November, right? It's cozy sweaters and roaring fires and a big forest and this big mansion and fog and fall and fallen leaves and that's exactly what it is, right? People are eating bowls of soup and drinking coffee. It's a whole thing. This, however, is uniquely set in Greece, and it is so sunny. Oh my god, like this is the most summer Knives Out movie I think we're gonna get. And it's funny because I don't even actually think it takes place in summer. It is distinctly 2020 though, and I think that's important to note.
Yeah.
Knives Out is a movie about old money and like people, the upper crust of society who have been there a long time and have been there for years. Glass Onion is about new money and influencers on the internet and people who are actively involved in change and like undertaking, society going in a different direction. And it's amazing that Johnson manages to like skewer both of these in these movies very well. Blanc is a world-renowned detective, but he is not the upper crust of society. And without a central character like we had in Knives Out to kind of ground us, you'd think that might be lost. But Johnson's got a really clever way of writing through that, and you'll have to see it when you see the film. But I was really pleased with the structure of it.
Right. What's interesting is that in the first movie, the mystery starts right away. The murder happens, right? Has already happened, I think, when we come up upon the house. In this one, we have a lot more setup with our characters. We're establishing our characters and their relationships to each other and to Edward Norton's character. And the murder mystery doesn't really start till about halfway through, which I thought was really interesting. But it does still really work, I think.
Yeah, I was really pleased with it all around. I've been glad to see other people say the same. Um, I don't want to say much more without treading the spoiler territory. And I don't think this is the kind of movie you want to do that with, especially a whodunit. But it is interesting this is out a month ahead of when it comes out for everybody else, right? Wouldn't Netflix be afraid the mystery might get spoiled? I mean, wouldn't they be concerned? People might, hear a cross review. I love the confidence like they had to put this in theaters because fundamentally it is a theatrical movie. Like Andy said, it's so much shot on location. Like compared to something like freaking Thor, like there's hardly any green screen that I noticed in this film. If it's there, it's really sneaky, just like Knives Out. Like it's very effective stuff. I wish this was in theaters longer. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, well, luckily it's one of those movies. It's a mystery movie, but it doesn't depend on the revelations to make the movie. That makes for a real weak premise a lot of times. It's just it's a lot of fun along the way. There's a number of mysteries to be solved, but it's fun. The characters are so unique. Like it's so cinematic, and I actually had it compared to a Bond movie because you're almost like on this villain's lair
Yeah.
situation in Greece. And it's funny that it's so enjoyable that it works and it doesn't depend solely on the revelations.
No, and it's done well because of Johnson's like not only ability to write something compelling based on older mysteries. People have been plucking out Agatha Christie references in the story here. They're there for sure, but also like his ability to make compelling scenes behind the camera. Um, he directs some sequences so well in this. Like Tarantino likes to say that suspension is like pulling a rubber band on screen and just pulling it tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And everybody knows it's going to snap, but that feeling of suspense of waiting for that thing to finally snap, uh, that's what makes good suspense. And Johnson has got that so perfect here. Some of the editing in this movie is so sharp. He's got sequences that are tributes to Hitchcock. He's got sequences that are like radically new ideas. Really, really clever work. And I'm so pleased to say that just like Knives Out, like it feels so good to watch a really smart movie in theaters, especially one that's going to be coming to Netflix. And hopefully I can recommend to everybody when it actually comes out in December. I hope I can watch this again with my parents, like it's a great time at the movies. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, it's so much fun, and it's so cinematic, and you see like, God, this is such a master behind the camera. There's it's telling an interesting, engaging story, but it's also telling it in an interesting and engaging way, and really putting that Netflix budget to use. One thing I want to talk about, there's a lot of humor in this movie, just like in the first one, but there's a lot of kind of slapstick comedy, and it reminds me of like actually The Last Jedi, and I think this is just Rian Johnson. He likes like silly slapstick comedy, and that's part of the reason he puts it in The Last Jedi. That's a lot of reason I think people don't like it because they don't, Star Wars is serious. It can't have slapstick, but
Right.
he doesn't care, and he
Right.
put it in there, and he puts it in this movie as well.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Like nobody liked Luke Skywalker throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder, but like the visual comedy of him doing it is particularly funny. I think Johnson really does appreciate that, which is funny because like a lot of his writing is so complex. You wouldn't think he'd be so charmed by such a simple gag, but he seems to go for it, and it's present here too. And I think he's been able to refine that and control it better. And I think it's better comedy for it. Like there's some really good sequences in here. There's some that are baffling, and it's not until later when you realize, oh, all the pieces are clicking into place. Glass Onion's good stuff. Any other thoughts or recommendations, Andy?
I wanted to talk real quick about themes, similar to the first one. This
Ooh.
this is a kind of a critique of the wealthy class, but in a more complex and nuanced way. It's more about like kind of this unadulterated worship we sometimes have to like tech billionaires like Elon Musk, or people who just happen to be holding the purse. And all the characters, while they're technically the friends, they're all very, very dependent on Miles Braun, Edward Norton's character, and then you have people like Peg, Jessica Henwick's character, who's then dependent in turn by the influencer she works for, Birdie, Kate Hudson character. So there's this very complex critique on kind of the worship of the wealthy class and the kind of techno elite.
Yeah, I think that stuff is effective and standing out from its predecessor, Knives Out, because it's swinging at a different piece of like the upper crust of society, and also it would be really easy to lean on like your lead being basically a hired hand again, right? Like somebody who is, um, hired to help out these people, like Marta is, play Banana Armis and Knives Out. But it didn't quite go there. Like that's not quite what Glass Onion has in mind, and I think like it's little differences are what helps it stand so far apart from Knives Out, while also being like such a spiritual follow up. It's good stuff. I like it all around. I realize I'm starting to talk back on myself, so I'll move on. But any other thoughts, Andy?
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Glass Onion, Knives Out Mystery?
Absolutely. It's a whole lot of fun. It's a brand new mystery. It's turned up to an 11. Like the budget is so much bigger. It's doing it on a grand scale, on location, real sets, real people, and it's again a critique of the wealthy, and it's on this bizarre island, almost like I said, James Bond-esque lair. It's a lot of fun. It's got a great cast. It's definitely one of my favorites of the year so far. Highly recommend.
I'm in the same boat. Glass Onion's a ton of fun. Would recommend. I think it comes out December 23rd. For Netflix
On
users,
Netflix?
please
Yep.
watch it. Yeah, like please watch it. It's great. Watch it Christmas Day if you're with your family and you're bored. Christmas Day is the busiest day at the movie theaters nationally, which means on Christmas you're probably getting to a point where you don't really want to talk to your family for a couple hours. Save the money, stay at home, watch Glass Onion. It is a ton of fun. And one more thing, before we move off this, I did want to ask Andy. I saw some people with early critiques saying this movie looked like a Netflix movie in cinematography and presentation. Like, you would wholly disagree with that, right? Like, I didn't see
Yeah,
that at all.
absolutely
I think it's
not. Yeah,
one of the more cinematic features of the year.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a really, really odd critique. All right, yeah, this movie does not look like a Netflix movie. It looks like a theatrical. Go see it. It's great. If your local theater runs it at a midnight show or something, go watch it. Like, it's cool. I would encourage you to check out Glass Onion, and if it's possible, see it in a theater.